And this is what you guys have been waiting for the whole time. So I guess let's talk about
what is hypergamy?
The hypergamy. What is the male sexual strategy versus what the female sexual strategy? What is the female dualistic sexual strategy? And then we'll get into marriage after this. Guys, listen up.
Okay.
Because for you guys that don't understand how women operate, this is the nuts and bolts of it, baby.
Right here.
This is
man.
how all the pickup artistry, all the dating advice, everything stems from what we're about to talk about right now when it comes to mating from an evolutionary standpoint, why women do the things that they do when they deal with men. Let's get into it.
All right. Okay. So, men and the easiest way to explain this is men and women's mating strategies are innate mating strategies. If there's no block, if there's nothing holding them back, there's no filter, men and women's mating strategies are different and they are adversarial. Okay. What that means is that men and women are different, and sometimes our worlds collide when in the best interests of our mating strategies go against whatever that happens to be for women. Now, a lot of women, a lot of guys even will say, well, aren't they mutually beneficial? Shouldn't we all want to seek out the same thing? That happens, but it happens in different ways per the man, per the woman. So let's down in brass tacks here. Hypergamy is women's innate mating strategy. Alpha seed, beta need. Hot guy, short-term sexual benefits, meaning genetic benefits. Getting the hottest guy, the hot guy in the foam cannon party. There's your reference for today. The guy who is Kevin in sales, right? The guy who is the hottest guy that she can get a hold of and have sex with in as immediate a fashion as possible. And we've never made it more easy for women to do that today.
Replication value,
Replication
guys,
value.
which we talked about earlier at the top of the show, evolution.
Yes, replication value, and then there's survival value, which is the beta buck side of it. So there are two, whenever you're looking at women's innate mating strategy, and I don't care if you say it's buffered or this is changes or whatever, the basis of it is alpha seed, beta need. Alpha fucks, beta bucks. Short-term sexual benefits versus long-term security benefits.
Yeah.
So when I talk about beta bucks, it is the provisioning side. And every time you ask one of these girls on this show, what do you look for in a guy? Every last damn one of them will always default to the beta buck side of things because they're thinking in long-term. Right? And I'll tell you why they are here in just a minute. So the beta buck side, it revolves around the 3 Ps, okay? Protection, provisioning, and parental investment. Those are the 3 Ps of the beta buck side.
Write that down, guys.
That's the dualistic nature of women's mating strategy. And usually, ideally, they would like to find both of those things, the hot guy and the best of provisioning in the same guy, right? So that's usually the guy who's he's the made man, right? He's already there. It's turnkey relationship. He's the winner. That, like Rich Cooper says, women don't care about your struggles. They wait at the finish line, and they fuck the winners, right? Ideally, they would love to do that. Now, in a perfect world, that would happen. This is not a perfect world, and women have, by order of degree, can make that happen or not make that happen, depending on how attractive they are and how much they align with men's innate mating strategy.
Exactly.
So you've got alpha fucks, beta bucks. Those are, and that's the easiest way to break it down. There's a lot that goes on, a lot of more nuance between those two. And whenever I say hypergamy, let's talk. You want to get into the semantics? Here we go. Yes, I know hypergamy as a word was created back in the 50s to describe the Indian caste system of sociology. Is a sociological term from way back in the day to describe how women would like to marry up in Indian society from this social tier up to the next social tier. Got it. Understand. Okay. Don't throw that one at me. I know the actual classical definition of it. Thank you very much. What I have done over the course of 20 some odd years is expand the definition of hypergamy.
As times have changed.
So because times have changed.
Bring it to 2021.
If you want to call it something else, the dualistic nature, whatever it is, I'm all ears. But hypergamy seems to be the best term that's working for a long time, and I'm going to stick with it. In fact, even Dr. Jordan Peterson decided to use it himself in that frame. Exactly. So let's move on. Okay. From that point there, the last thing, and I've been trying to emphasize this in recent, and certainly this last year, is that when you look at women's window of opportunity, when are women at their sexual market value peak? I've always made the joke, they call the store.
Should we pull up the graph right now?
If you have it, I don't know if I have I don't know if I gave him the graph, but it's off of. You might have it somewhere. Around there.
Sexual market value graph.
I don't know if I have it in there, but it's the. No, it's not. It's not in the ones that I sent you, Chris. It's the it's off of one of my sites. I can go grab it. I'll go grab it here in a second.
Don't worry, I'll get it.
It's my infamous it's my infamous graphic with the blue and the pink, bell curves. Curves. And remember, that was a very unscientific graph, but it's funny how accurate it was in hindsight. And I made that back in like 2013, 2014. peak marketability for women is based on how attractive she is. Remember, we said sexual market value is based on her agency, and that agency is tied to how attractive she is to the member of the opposite sex. That's why women take their clothes off when they want to protest and they want that attention, because they know that's what gets them attention. Even the lizard brain figures that out at a very early age. Okay, so what you have is you've got women between like right around 23 is where I peg women's sexual market value peak years. Okay, yeah, there it is. That's that. Perfect.
There's the graph, baby.
Perfect.
Boom.
There we go. The infamous graph.
Let's expand that a little bit, Chris.
So at the top of that, at the top of the pink bell curve right there, you see that I hit that at about 23 is the top of the peak right there, and that is where women are at the peak of their agency. That's when guys want to get with them the most. In fact, we can look at the stats from the book called Dataclysm, I believe it was, and it's a list of stats that was aggregated by I think it was OkCupid, the owners of OkCupid.
Okay.
So we now have like access to data where we can figure these things out, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things they figured out is that women like right around 22, 23, 24 years old are what men report across the board from age 15 all the way to 105 say that is the age that they find women the most attractive. That's when they want to bang those chicks, right? 22, 23, 24. That's the chick for me. When it comes to women, it staggers. So when a woman is, say, like 20 years old, she's looking for a guy who's about 23 years old or 25 years old, somewhere around there. And if she's 25, she's looking for a guy who's 28 years old or just a slightly older maybe. And statistically speaking, women look for guys who are anywhere between 3 to 7 years older than they are, depending on how old the woman is. Okay, and so that's, again, this is from the book Dataclysm. And so for women, it's the staggering. As a woman gets older, she's looking for a guy who's still older, but of around the same. So a 33-year-old woman looking for a 36-year-old, 37-year-old guy, right? That's statistically how it goes. They report that's the guy that they want to get with. Now, we'll get to the Pareto principle here in a second, but I wanted to point this out because if you look at the timeline on the age right there, from the age of 18, and I've never said this on this show before, from the ages of 18 to 28 years old, right before the epiphany phase, that 10-year span for women is a crucial time in a woman's life. That is when she is most able to optimize the alpha fucks side of hypergamy. That's when she can get the hottest guys, as we know, because that's when guys report that this is what we want across the board, right?
Absolutely.
45 years old, I want a 23-year-old.
Yep.
50 years old, 70 years old, I want the 23-year-old. 15 years old, I want the 23-year-old.
She's in the strongest negotiating position to optimize her
she
options.
has her agency, her power, her ability to control her own life or get the things that she wants according to her sexual agency. That's when she's at her peak. And I will even give you this, between 18 and 28 years old, 10 years. How old do you think an average woman's lifespan is? 90 years old?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah, they live longer than us.
So out of 90 years on planet Earth, 10 of those years is when she's going to be able to be at her peak. And that's what she's going to be able to focus on during those 10 years. Everything past that, from 28 all the way till she's in the grave, all of that is spent on the beta buck side of things. That's where she's looking for long-term security. Or if she's not, it's still in the back of the head.
Yeah.
And that's why women obsess, and that's why every chick that comes on here is, I make my own damn money. What do I bring to the table? I got my own career. I got this. And every time you ask them, what do you bring to the table? It's always that the value that they think they have is based on how well they can satisfy long-term security. I got my own money. I got my own business. I'm going to freeze my eggs. I can go to the sperm bank and have a baby anytime I want. It's anything that is complementary to long-term security. Women today don't think that they are going to ever get long-term security from men. I put this up as a post or as a comment one time when, I don't know if it was the last night or it was the night before, but women, when they are looking for a guy, they don't expect to find long-term security in that guy, because they think men are either abusive or they're ridiculous or they're incompetent. And so as a result of teaching them this for a long time, they think they have to create their own long-term security.
Yeah.
That's why it's, I make my own damn money. I'll do what I want. I guess I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life, right? Well, if that's the case, then it behooves you to get a degree, to forget about marriage, right? Because none of these guys will ever measure up. Or even if they did measure up, they'll only be good for alpha fucks, and they'll never be good for beta bucks, because I don't want to get with a beta. I don't want to get with the chump if I don't have to. They don't have to get with the chump anymore.
They don't.
So now it's that long-term security aspect that is going to stick with them for the next, let's say, 80 years, rather than the 10 years that they have that window to capitalize on the alpha fuck side of things. So you have to take that into consideration. So when you're dealing with, like, if you're down here, like, macking on girls or whatever like that, and that girl's between 18 and 28 years old, her priorities are going to be much different than the girl who's 29 to 31 years old, and so on and so forth. And they're not looking forward towards the long-term security because they don't expect to ever find it in a guy. Because their guys are ridiculous. They're stupid. I don't want to have anything to do with guys. I guess I'm going to be lonely for the rest of my life. I guess you are. Because you'll say, I don't need men. You literally don't need men. And women who don't need men don't need those women. Because they want to be needed. We need a purpose, right? So anyways, that's the new kind of thing I've been thinking about with respect to hypergamy is there's how, at what age and what era and what stage of a woman's maturity can she maximize the alpha fuck side, and what's the rest of her life, right? And she has a lot longer to wait and a lot longer to depend on with long-term security than she does alpha fucks. And that's why when women come on this show and they're 34, 38 years old or whatever, and they're like, crying or Kevin Samuel says, you're average at best. That girl's crying in her beer because she knows that her that 18 to 28 year old window is gone. It's long gone. Yep. But she should have been using that window to get long-term security rather than just I'm going to go bang whoever I can bang and get the seed instead of the need.
And let's talk about this as well. We talked about how there was a spike in antidepressant prescriptions in 2010 with social media usage. Let's talk about the globalized sexual marketplace, which has also contributed to this with women taking that 10-year span and not necessarily optimizing it because the grass is always greener on the other side. A woman that lived in the middle of nowhere, Idaho, right? That was beautiful, was constrained, right, to that geographic area of candidates.
The local sexual marketplace.
The local sexual marketplace.
Instead of the
But now with the advent of Instagram especially, where women can advertise themselves.
On-demand drop in July 1st.
Yeah, July 1st, guys. Teach you guys how to optimize on the globalized sexual marketplace. But going back, what's happened is women now have more options than ever before. And we talked about how there's that dualistic strategy with, long-term provisioning versus, alpha bucks, beta bucks, right? Alpha bucks, beta bucks. You had it right. So when in that 10-year span, especially with the education system and women being told that they can freeze their eggs, they can. There's abortion, there's birth control, there's all these advents essentially to allow women to have casual sex with higher value men with zero consequence. What we've done is we've effectively deregulated the sexual marketplace and we've given all the leverage to the women. But what they don't understand, I say this all the time, is that inadvertently, what's happened is they've given all the leverage to the high-value men.
Right.
Because now, all these women, if you leave them to their own devices, right, and you tell them that you don't have to have a family right now, you could push back a family, you can have your fun in your 20s, what are they going to do? They're going to optimize that sexual strategy of the alpha fucks. And if they're getting hit up by guys in California, that localized sexual marketplace of potential candidates are invisible to her now. And now she's traveling all over the world. We have this society now where so many attractive women are sugar babies. Guys, make no mistake about it. There are girls that have multiple sugar daddies and then a couple guys that they smash on the side that are attractive. It is what it is.
I was with one earlier, bro.
Yeah, there you
go. She got sugar daddy. I'm like, bro, that's crazy.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, and that's the thing is we've also, in that deregulation, we've also created social conventions that make it more acceptable. So if you talk about sugaring or whatever, girls will say, yeah, I'm sugaring, but I'm just doing it till I'm out of college. Like, so I can pay my college. That it's probably that. And why would women go to college? Because they want long-term security at some point. It used to be that women would go to college to get their MRS degree, right? To find the right guy. So I was like, I don't care what I major in, as long as I find a cute guy, right?
Exactly.
That was the thing. No longer is that clearly not, because statistically there aren't as many men at the college as there are women, but we still see the enrollment rates as what they are. But when you're talking about the SSRIs, which is antidepressants and the prescriptions, we just showed that graph just a moment ago. Look at the demographic. Right? 35 to 45 years old. So there's certain things that happen during that time for men and women, particularly in Western societies and in gynocentric social orders. So right around 45 years old, like remember that graph is for women who have been on antidepressants for at least 5 years. So at least 40 till they're 45, and probably before that as well. So you've got those, consider that. And then also consider that women are less happy as a result of that. And because we have provided them with all this security, and yet they still want to be able to get what they think they deserve, which is the high value guy. I deserve the high value guy and I won't settle for anything less. And they don't have to settle for anything less as long as the perception that long-term security will always be available to them.
Yep.
And that's what we have effectively done since 1965 when we started in the fempowerment movement. So when it comes to when women come on this show and they're like, well, you know, I'll find a guy, I'm 28 years old, I'm still hot, blah, blah, blah. I think I'm a 10, right? Whatever it is. Well, we talk about how women's, you know, egos have been inflated and everything, but what we don't do is we don't talk about the hubris. We don't talk about the entitlement. We don't talk about any complete lack of humility whatsoever to get with the guy that they think that they deserve,
Yes.
as opposed to the guy that they're probably going to end up with anyways, if they end up with anyone. And the reason why you get Giga Karen on here talking about like, well, I guess I'm going to die alone, right? Because she's like, I won't stand for anything less, right?
Yeah.
The reason why she has that attitude is because she has a perception that long-term security is already made for her.
Yep, exactly.
It's always going to be there. You know, freezing your eggs, sperm donation. I make my own damn money. I've got my own career. I've got my own life. A woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle.
Exactly.
Yeah, I want to add to that as well. So, in layman terms of what's going on in today's society,
Spell it out for me in
Picture this, right?
layman terms.
because we're in the game right now. So there's girls out here, right, with boyfriends, legit boyfriends, 7, 10 years, maybe even 20 years, right? Possibly. And they're getting the security of having, you know, bills paid in a household from the boyfriend. However, they also have a sugar daddy that takes them on trips, gives her the luxury lifestyle. But
Security.
she's playing both angles because she knows she can do it when she's young. When she gets older, she's thinking, oh, you know what? The guy that I'm having an affair with, the you know, high value guy, is going to take me and make me his own. Reality, like you said before, they're not. So then they're going to be left to the streets.
Yeah,
35 years old.
Because what they're doing is they're trying to what I've called consolidate or
double dipping.
They're trying to optimize hypergamy in two different guys.
Yeah.
And again, I've said this before because a lot of guys say, "Well, that's duplicitous, man. That's immoral. That's unethical for them to say one thing and do another." Yeah, that's called the medium is the message. You'll find that in that book right there. But guys think that that's like there's this sense of moral duty that women have. I keep saying, you know, women have no problem with cognitive dissonance.
Yes.
And particularly
Facts.
so. Well, and particularly so if either one, like cognitive dissonance is a conflict of two different thoughts, holding two different conflicting thoughts at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Or two beliefs or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And then trying to rationalize away. If both of those options that are conflicting both lead to an optimized hypergamy, women have no problem with
Absolutely.
that whatsoever.
Yep.
That's why women flake. That's why they always say it's a man's word, not a woman's word.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm a man of my word, not a woman of my word. I tell guys all the time.
No problem.
Women, like, the men are taught do what's right. Women are taught do what's right for you guys.
Now,
that's the difference.
This is a perfect example of this. Remember when the girls were on here and you were talking about like, oh, I want you to stop being an OnlyFans girl. I want you to. Ladies, what would you say if I told you if you were my girlfriend and I told you to close your Instagram because, or why don't you close your Instagram organically out of genuine desire because you only want to be with me? Why would you not do that? And every girl gets their fur gets up, you know, because because they don't want to do because they want to leave that option open.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Right, because they can be with that one chick that was here. I think I asked you to ask her like how old she was and how old the boyfriend was on your text.
Yeah.
And the reason I asked that is because I wanted to see, is it going to work out? First of all, and second of all, it was like she was like really adamant about keeping her Instagram and keeping her options open, and that's really all Instagram is.
Yeah.
Dating dating right now in Western societies on Instagram and in the social media age is brand management. And women understand that instinctively. Again, it's that cognitive dissonance. Why wouldn't you do that? Well, I want to. That's the cognitive dissonance. I can still have perfect boyfriend, and I can still be online kind of sexy girl in case there's some other guy that's out there, and I'm good with that. I'm okay with advertising my sexuality and my sexual agency, but I still want to be with this perfect guy. Alpha fucks, possible alpha fucks with beta bucks. So the perfect security.
I can't tell you how many girls are in our DMs with boyfriends right now, and it's like scary to me. Like guys, they don't even know what's going on.
Yeah,
and it's like, just like you said,
cognitive dissonance that leads to an optimized hypergamy is no problem. We don't find any kind of rationale for that.
We 1 in 4 women is on some kind of antidepressant or anxiety medication. That's only the women that actually went to go see a psychiatrist.
there you go. That's true.
That is true.
Let's transition over to.
Let me just, and this is the easiest. This is the easy one for men. What's men's innate sexual strategy? Right? Were you going to ask me this?
Oh, I was actually going to go into sex. Yeah, I was going to go into sex.
So for men's innate, so hypergamy is women's innate mating strategy. There are social buffers that have historically kept women from enduring the worst aspects of hypergamy, right? There's the church and there's social stigmas.
Yes.
So it's
Constraints on hypergamy.
Again, remember, hypergamy is not a straight jacket, okay? So it's like guys think, oh, well, I'm doomed, whatever. There used to be ways that we would limit and buffer the worst aspects of it. Those are more or less gone now because we
used to be religion and shame and the Scarlet Letter and all those other things.
Whenever I listen to religious tradcons like on Daily Wire or whatever, and it's some chick on there talking, making it's Jesus, and they want to make appeals to morality and stuff like that. I get why they want to do that because that used to be a buffer on women's sexuality. And women say, well, we were repressed. Yes, you were. And there was a reason for that. There was a very good reason for that. So you don't get depressed. So you have a lower rate of divorce. So we can create good, strong families with a mother and a father. There's so much that goes along with that. Yes, you were repressed. You know who else was repressed? Men were repressed too. Because we had responsibility to be masculine and man up and be a good provider and have all this other stuff that would go along with that. Yes, we had control. Yes, we had authority. But we used that authority ideally. I'm not saying men were perfect. They weren't. But they weren't tyrants all the time, right? And so they had authority to affect that responsibility that was a natural part of patriarchy. And we wonder why women are depressed and unhappy and higher rates of, with promiscuity and everything else. So that's that side. And then to complete the whole thing for men, men's innate mating strategy is two things: unlimited access to unlimited sexuality.
Bam.
That's all there is. And guys will say, no, I want to have a good wife. And yeah, that's your mating strategy. But in a perfect world, it would look like porn. That's why online porn is so popular. You want to know why guys are addicted? These guys are addicted to porn. Yeah, of course they are. Unlimited access, unlimited sexuality. Yeah. That's exactly why you're addicted to porn.
I always tell the ladies, if you literally give a man $1 million of blue check and a bunch of models, he's going to affect his sexual strategy and bang all those chicks. Men are monogamous a lot of the time by necessity and by the fact that they don't have other options. Men, we talk about truths on the male side and the female side, guys. A lot of the time, you know what I'm saying? A man is as faithful as his options, which transitions perfectly.
I just want to bring one point real quick. Just to add to that as well, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, guys, golden nugget here. You want to know why some girls aren't on Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, on these dating apps? Because Instagram is the biggest dating app in the world right now. Because once again,
brand management.
They don't want to be seen on those lesser apps.
Yep.
They want to be seen
a lot of them
in HD pictures, videos on Instagram, and it's so on the low you would never even know. Like for example, let's say you're dating a girl, right? Yeah, babe, I deleted my Tinder, my Bumble for you, whatever. But she has Instagram all the time open. It's for a reason. So she's marketing herself to other people. So once again, Instagram is one of the biggest dating apps in the world. Don't forget, we said it here on the podcast.
Okay. And so we're going to transition over now to... We set perfect segue right into female versus male promiscuity. Why having sex with a lot of men ruins women.